So we're going to start today out by going through the preliminary set of frequently made mistakes for assignment 1A. About 23 people have submitted their form, their Google submission form. Thank you very much for doing that. I have pushed my comments to everybody who has submitted their Google submission form thus far. So you should be able to take a look and see my comments there. This is a summary of what I've seen so far. When we're done with the rest of the submissions, I'll make a final version of this as well. So first thing, please make sure you comment your code thoroughly. It should be pretty obvious to see what the commenting style should be. All you have to do is take a look at the many examples that I have given and that we've walked through and we will walk through. That's the form I'm expecting. So your method should all be commented. There's also a file that talks about the commenting style that's on the website. So if you go to my web page, you'll see that as well. Henceforth, if you don't comment your code, it won't be reviewed. A couple things. Make sure that you use the right routing strings for in your controllers for things like get mapping and so on. So this does not have the right string. The search query does not belong for get searches. It belongs for the get search method. So this will cause problems, and you won't be able to get your method resolved, your endpoint handler method resolved by Spring. Please get in the habit of initializing your local variables by making calls to whatever initializes them rather than setting them to some default value and then assigning it in the next line. So this should be more like this as opposed to like what we have there. When you're doing your movie list stuff, this is in the components.java file for the server. Don't use key set here, use entry set, and don't use movie map.getTitle, because that requires yet another lookup, but instead use entry set get value, because you should have an entry set, not a key set. And also, please get in the habit of using toList instead of collect toList or toCollection or whatever, more concise. Also, once again, don't create a local variable here just to turn around and return it. Instead, return the local variable. Don't have that local variable and return the results directly, less things to go wrong. Here are some issues with the proxies. This code is incorrect. You should be using query param to add the queries string, not doing this. I'm not quite sure what this is going to do, but it probably is not going to be right. So you should use the query param because you have to give the name of the parameter. Down here, also, please use the webutils list to string call, since what is shown here sort of works in this particular case, but it's very inefficient and it adds a lot of extra ceremony to the string that's passed across in the URL. So it's much more verbose and inefficient than it needs to be. The list to string is going to make it a much more efficient encoding. Also, please don't write your code so it runs off the screen to the right. Please, number one, it's not commented properly because it's not commented at all, but probably a better way to format it is something like that, which that allows you to write a comment here, etc. And so please get in the habit of writing your code like that and don't slam it all off to the right. That doesn't scale and becomes very hard to read, especially if you do a printout or something. Down here, this is some more issues with the proxy code. This whole solution is very complicated and inefficient. Please take a look at the Bera quotes example that we discussed in class, which will show you how to do something like this. And again, please don't use collect. Use toList instead of collect, blah, blah, blah. This is also way too complicated. Very much cleaner way to do it. Please, again, take a look at the Bera quotes example that we looked at in class. Down here, now we're back on the server side again. We're taking a look at the service portion. And in this case, please get in the habit of not having to write the Lambda expression code with the curly braces. That's unnecessary, and you don't need the local variable. You can just kind of string that things together, make it more concise, or factor it out into a separate method or a Lambda expression that you stick into a local variable. Please use toList instead of collect toList. Down here, don't use the all match call. That's way overkill, and you won't get the results that you're expecting. The test will fail. You want to use the any match method instead. And down here, Again, this had a nice factor, which is nice, but you can do a simpler job just by using the any match call here instead of having a separate method, although you can make a separate method as long as you call any match in it. And then down here, once again, I recommend using any match. It's much more concise than something like this, which uses toList and size and stuff like that. So that works, but it's just extra work that's unnecessary. Okay, so that is a summary of what I've seen so far. Please make sure if you have not submitted assignment 1A yet, it's due tonight. Make sure that you submit the Google submission form. Please make sure you use the Google submission form to let me know where to find your code to review it. That's absolutely required. You will not get your code reviewed. You will not get a grade if you do not do that. Also, please make sure you put in the screenshot showing the results of running the tests. So I make sure that you ran the tests. And I think that's about it. I will, of course, put this video up on the website later, so please take a look at it and make sure you address these issues before you submit your code.